The Fox City SCORE chapter and WHBY are pleased to bring you Biz Talk, a chance for you to hear from entrepreneurs and professionals as they share their experiences from starting to sustaining growth. Learn the skills needed for your business to be successful. If you missed anything, you can catch the Biz Talk podcast at biztalkwithscore.com. And now from the Myron Construction Studio, it's Biz Talk on WHBY.
Good morning and welcome to Biz Talk with SCORE. We'll talk more about SCORE later on in the show, but my name is Terry Pinch. I am a SCORE mentor and one of your co-hosts this week, and joining me as co-host is Rick Sense. How are you doing, Rick?
I'm doing really well, Terry. Have you had a chance to get out on the bike yet this spring?
I was out yesterday for the second time, learning there's certain muscles I didn't use as much, and getting ready for Loop the Lake, which starts in 3 weeks, so I got to be ready to ride at least 6 to 15 miles by then. So
sounds great.
Yeah. How about you?
Peninsula State Park last weekend. Awesome. My daughter-in-law ran the half marathon, and we had the chance to bike throughout the park and follow her all over the place. A lot of fun.
Good. Sounds good. All right. So this week we're going to be talking to the owners of E&S Entrepreneur Advisors, and our guests are Susan Schuldes and Beth Ehlers. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So as we get started, let's start first of all with your backgrounds. So we'll start with you, Beth. Tell us about yourself and how you got to the point of where you are today.
Oh, okay. So I have a degree in finance from the University of Notre Dame and started my young career in financial management training positions, both with General Mills, and then moved over to Kimberly-Clark. After a few years at Kimberly-Clark in finance, I moved into operations management there, and continued in that role until I eventually had to take a step back, and I had a child who did not do well in daycare, and so I stepped out of that world, which then put me into the world of being a stay-at-home mom, but always I still needed to have money coming in. So I embarked on the next several years of starting some various small businesses of my own. And at that time learned a whole lot about how to sell, how to plan, what works, what doesn't work. So when Susan and we had children who are in school together, and that was the point, at one point there, that we got together and decided to really start E&S Entrepreneur Advisors. So okay. That's my background.
And Susan?
I've got my accounting degree from University of Wisconsin-Madison. I started working for Wifley, a CPA firm, right out of college, did my 3 years and got my CPA. And then decided 90-hour work weeks weren't my idea of fun, so that I went to work for U.S. Bank in their internal audit department. So worked there for almost 4 years, which gave me some really good experience with commercial lending, which has become very helpful with our work here at E&S. And then I took a chunk of time off. My daughter was diagnosed with cancer when she was an infant, and so needed to devote the next 3 years of her life to getting her through that. She is fully grown, a 33-year-old now, so obviously the treatment was successful, and did a lot of, when you're a CPA, you're the treasurer, whatever group you're involved with, be it a church or PTA or any volunteer situations, and then was doing a little bit of advisory work, and then Beth had the great idea to pair up and become partners. So we did.
So what was the instigation for starting up more of a full-time, not necessarily full-time, but building up a consulting business?
Well, I would say it's interesting because at various events, and in the couple of years leading up to starting E&S, when we'd get together, we would bounce ideas of, we would be working with different clients individually, and we'd bounce ideas off of one another that were just slightly out of, I knew Susan was a CPA, and what do you know about this? And she, knew I had other operations background, and what would you do? And so we were bouncing this, and we were talking about the problems that we were seeing. And really, one of the biggest problems that we saw with the clients that we were working with were people who were coming to us after the point that they were in trouble. The businesses were struggling, and part of the biggest reason they were struggling was because they were working with no information in front of them. A lot of times it was a smaller business that, just was working with another small tax accountant, and those small tax accountants are buried for, the whole first half of the year. And they would be 6 months, 9 months into the year and have never looked at their financial statements from the prior year even, had really had no idea of what was happening in their businesses, and didn't know how to read things and whatnot. And so that was why that was the pain point that we were seeing. We're like, let's get this started, and offer people business planning from the beginning. Try to, focus on people who are looking to start their business, and let's do this planning up front with them. But then let's continue, because there were, at that time, back in 2009, I think there were 3 or 4 businesses in our area that wrote business plans. And you could pay them to just write your business plan. They'd put together a beautiful business plan, and it would, you'd go to the bank, get your money, and it would go in a drawer. And so we were saying, let's not do that. Let's work with the people to write their business plan that they understand, help them get their financing, help them through that next phase of startup, of starting the business, getting it off the ground, measuring it back to their business plan, seeing what's tracking the right way, what's not, and making those adjustments, and doing their, helping them get their accounting system set up and all that, really get them off the ground. So that, that was our goal starting out.
And how did you guys learn more about doing that? So how did you grow as business people as you were teaching your clients how to do these things?
Well, we were fortunate that very early on in our development of the business, we were approached by Amy Peach at the Venture Center, and they were running the eSeed class there, which is helping people write their business plan. So if they didn't have the money to pay someone to do it, or they just really wanted to learn more about running a business, that eSeed class was a great way to do it. And she was looking for faculty, and she approached us, and so we did that. Gosh, what, 2 years?
2 or 3 years, and that really solidified. Yeah, we, in like three sessions a year, I think it was.
Yeah, and that really, we obviously knew the process by which you create a business plan and execute it, but it exposed us to the way the EC program approached it, and we took the job on thinking that the people who were going through that program were going to be needing help you've got the business plan written now through that class, but now you have to get the financing, now you have to actually get the business up and running. And we did get a few clients out of that, but through that process and word of mouth and that, we also expanded our business in other ways as well.
Right.
So before we go further into things like how you find your customers and that too, I think we should probably stop for a second and say, what services, can you tell our listeners, what services do you offer as an organization?
One thing we do not do is income taxes, and that was a strategic. We talked about that early on. I love all things accounting except income taxes. So the day that my husband and I made enough money that we could pay somebody else to do our income taxes made me very happy. But we help with payroll taxes, we help with payroll processing, we help with sales taxes. But our main focus is on what we refer to as management accounting. So getting your books set up and the bookkeeping and accounting done so that you've got the reports, the financial statements you need to be able to manage your business. and then hand those off to a good tax accountant to have the taxes prepared. We help with the actual training of either the individual owners or their staff to do the bookkeeping, to do the accounting, or we can do it ourselves, depending on what people want. And then what we've really got into, I'd say in the last 10 years of the business, is outsourced CFO. And that is an ever-growing, at the point we started, it was referred to as outsourced CFO. And now you hear a lot of people talking about fractional CFO services. But
right, the name has changed. Services are the same.
Services are the same. Basically, it's businesses that have grown beyond needing just a basic accountant. They need a CFO, but they're not large enough to be able to afford a full-time CFO. So what do? You hire somebody like Beth or myself to come in and provide you with whatever hours you can afford. And we do more of the higher level strategic budgeting, forecasting, cash flow management type of work.
And often overseeing the actual finance departments within those companies. So we're really working in that role very side by side with the owner and the management team.
Okay. So let's step back to the beginning again. Where'd your customers come from? How did you find customers for this?
Well, as we said, we did a lot of planning up front. So our business plan, our marketing plan was based on a lot of networking. And so we had lists and lists of who we were going to go meet. And we had an agreement that we each had to make X number of phone calls and have X number of lunches and be involved in a certain number of networking things in our early years. And we worked that plan. So we met with bankers, we met with tax accountants, joined various business networking groups in the area. And then, of course, as Susan said, then we started with the Venture Center. And that kicked off some of our early clients. And then from there, we were writing blogs, we had our whole online marketing, we had our website, we wrote blogs, we, worked on our SEO and all of that on our website. But then eventually we got to the point where it's pretty much, and as it stands today, I would say 95% of our clients come from referrals from other clients or tax accountants.
Okay. And as you've built up that client base, I know I saw on your website you have other people working for you. How many employees or contractors do you have in addition to the two of you?
We don't have any contractors.
No contractors. We have two part-time bookkeepers and then one full-time accountant.
Okay. And as you look at where you are with the business, are you happy with where you are and not worried about growing dramatically still, or you still look at, I want to grow faster?
No, we have never been one to push. We were both in a position where financially we could just kind of let it grow organically. Mm-hmm. And we've always been of a pace that we will only take on a new client if we have the capacity to do so. So, which is how our one full-time employee came to be. It's my son, and he got laid off during COVID, and we had a big client, one of our major clients, that wanted us to take over their accounts payable, and we at that point didn't have the capacity. So I approached him and said, we need some help. I can teach you how to do this. I can pay you more than unemployment. And, at the point that the economy opens back up, then you can start looking for work and we'll figure out what we're going to do capacity wise. And it just so happened, he takes after his mother more than he realized and found that he was really good at it and he really enjoyed it and said, I'd like to keep doing it. And I said, that makes me very happy, but you can't do it with an econ degree. So, he went back and he graduated in December from the University of Illinois with a master's of accounting. So next year he'll be tackling the CPA exam, and it worked out really well.
Right. So we're working on, training him now and exposing him really and bringing him up to speed with the various things that we do. And then we have 2 part-time bookkeepers that, and both of them want to work part-time, so it works out really well.
Yeah, that's always nice with the part-timers. All right, we're going to take our first break. You're listening to Biz Talk with Score and WHBY, and we will be right back.
Welcome back to Biz Talk with Score on WHBY. I'm one of your co-hosts, Rick Sense, along with Terry Pinch today. And before we get back to our program, I'd just like to spend a few moments talking to you about Score. Fox City Score serves an 8-county area with offices in Appleton, Oshkosh, and Fond du Lac. We have about 45 volunteers, and they're mentors, and they each are experts in their field, offering entrepreneurs no cost and confidential mentoring. Those areas of expertise include IT, social media, marketing, cash flow, accounting, strategic planning, workflow, human resources, retail, best practices, and many, many others. In order to register for a no-cost confidential mentoring session and or to learn more about the Fox Cities Score chapter, please visit our website at score.org/Fox Cities. You can learn more about how the Score chapter can assist you with starting and or growing your business, and you can complete an application for a mentoring session. Simply complete the online form and submit it to Score. Within a few days, the Score mentor will be contacting you to set up a meeting. Remember, Score is a no cost and offers experts who can offer you assistance in many different areas. To get started, please visit our website at score.org/Fox Cities. And to support small business people, Fox Cities Score is always looking for new mentors. If you have experience that you would like to share with others, we'd love to talk to you. We welcome volunteers with experience in all aspects of business. Small business owners need your help, and your experience can make a real difference to their success. Go to score.org/Fox Cities, click on the volunteer button and fill out the short application, and we'll get back to you to explain more. So we'll go back to the program, and I'm going to open this question to both of you, Susan and Beth. I've always wondered what comes first, the chicken or the egg. In this case, our entrepreneurs that, you've worked with many of them over the years, and you yourselves are entrepreneurs. Are they born or are they grown? Do they develop?
I think both. I think there are some people that are just truly natural at it, and you see them, they're just always looking for the next thing. And I think some of them, the joy of developing something and building something new, and then it reaches a certain level and they're, hand that off and now they're ready for the next thing. And then I also think there's times where people kind of are forced by circumstances at times. I mean, we certainly saw that a lot during the economic downturn in 2009, 2010, where a lot of people were out of jobs. You saw it again during the pandemic, and can't find a job anywhere, so I guess I'm going to start a business, so I, create my job. And I think certain people have the work ethic, the skill set, and enough determination to learn how to become an entrepreneur, even if it's not a natural skill of theirs. You see others that kind of got forced into it due to economic circumstances and maybe haven't been quite as successful because it's not something innate within them.
Yeah, I would agree. And, I think the person that we consider the true entrepreneur, that mind that leaps and goes from one project to another, I personally fit into that category where I am a problem solver at the core. I'm constantly looking at how to fix things and wanting, and then moving on to the next thing and, have to, have to, struggle sometimes with the boredom that comes with things going well, and wanting to not wanting to always leap into the next, project that's out there. So I think there's a large group that is their personality. Sometimes they're exciting to work with. They're also some of the hardest ones to work with, because they they take leaps before they think sometimes, or not think, but before they suss out the whole plan, So
if someone is thinking of starting off a business and they think, I'm just not the entrepreneurial type, would you discourage them or would you encourage them to still consider opening a business and creating their own enterprise?
I think, the one make or break thing that we have really encountered with people is the ability to sell. Because even if you're not forming a business that is selling a product, even if you're a service provider, which is what we are, you have to then be able to sell yourself. And I am not a natural salesperson. I am married to one. And so I've watched him over, almost 4 years of marriage, selling. But you have to learn to do that. If you're going to have your own business, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you've got to be able to sell either yourself and your services or whatever product that you are offering. If you absolutely cannot do that, you have to at least be able to generate a business that is large enough for you to hire someone to do that selling for you, because somebody has to do it. And that is the make or break thing. So, I think just about everything else other than organization, because we run into that quite a bit, that if you just cannot learn how to be organized or gain the skills and the procedures to help you do that, that's going to cause you to fail as well.
And I would only add to that you also have to be you have to really dig deep and determine if you are the person who has kind of the stamina to keep going and keep working through issues and through problems, because owning a business, you have to want to work when you own a business. It is work. It is always work. You have to know that you can self-direct and run the business. And if you're somebody who just wants to sit back and take direction, then starting a business is not for you, really.
Okay. We're at the spot for our second break. You're listening to Biz Talk with Score on WHBY, and we'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to Biz Talk. I'm Terry Pinch, and before we get back to Beth and Susan from E&S Entrepreneur Advisors, I want to just mention a couple of courses we have coming up. So, as we mention every week, if you go to our website at score.org/Fox Cities, you'll see a tab up near the top called Workshops and Events. And within that tab, you can find literally thousands of different opportunities for either webinars or live events, most of which are free. But there's two I wanted to mention that are coming up, just so you're aware of it, both national online events. The first one is coming up. It's called Google Analytics for Small Business and How to Improve Website Traffic. So that's on May 22nd. And again, if you go in and click on the online event, you'll find that there in the national listing. But one of the local ones that you can find out some interesting things on is coming up on May 13th at 8 p.m. And it's called Creating Stories That Sell. So one thing people often start out with when they're first working in a business is they're pretty good at the facts, but what really helps sell are the stories. And so this does a good job of helping you create stories that help you sell your products. So again, you can find both of those on our website at score.org/Fox Cities and click on the workshop and events. And again, there's literally thousands of different opportunities out there if you go through and search through the site. So with that, we're going to get back to Susan and Beth. And the first area I want to talk to in this segment is in 2020, many people had to learn how to work remotely and what that meant for them. And the adjustments were pretty tough for some people. You've been working remotely. By that time, it would have been 11 years, and you still do it. Can you talk a little bit about how you manage that working between yourselves and with your clients when you're not based in an office?
Yeah, we've got a handful of procedures that we use and processes we use to pass information to keep up to date with what's going on. So it's just a matter of sitting down initially with the client and figuring out what is going to work best. How are we going to get those documents, invoices, receipts, etc.? How often are we going to meet? How are we going to meet? We work with Zoom, we work with Teams, we work with Google Hangouts. We use a variety of different Google folders, Dropbox, things like that to pass documents. So it's working that with the clients up front, and then periodically doing a little check-in. Is this working? Or do we need to try something different? And feeling them out as to how often do we need to schedule meetings to meet and to touch base. And, we've got some clients that are happy to just meet with us once a year. They're little enough, we look at their stuff through and give it our blessing, so to speak, and off it goes to the tax accountant. We have others where we may do a quarterly check-in to review things, and then others monthly or even more often than that.
Weekly, yeah, daily. It truly is. We really meet our clients where they're needed, and it's funny when you're talking about the technology and the things that you have. When we started our business, we had actually a little actual whiteboard that we used to write, each client and what we had to do for everybody, and we tracked it that way. Well, now that whiteboard is a document that's an online shared document, and we still, it's color coded, and it's getting these processes in place that is really the most important thing. And so we have identified several that work for us, work with our clients, and we do try, I will say, to ask our clients to work within our processes. And we've got a couple they can pick and choose from how their brains work, but to work within our process, because we have found that works. Whenever we have kind of gone off the rails with a client, it is always because we're trying to do it their way. And that ends up not working for us. It really is. These are the processes that we've found work for our team. And, we can't have a bookkeeper that we're saying, okay, for this client, you're going to go here, and for that client, you're going to do that. We have to have some consistency among our team as to what the process is when we're training our people as well. So it's really just, it is a lot of talking. And we do, to say we work remotely is not to say we only work remotely. Like I do have a client in Green Bay that I go to 1 or 2 days a week that I'm on site. They're a large client, and there's just things that are happening there that they need to see my face. There's more people that need to talk to me than just the management group there. So I need to touch base there. Whereas most of our other clients, and occasionally there'll be a meeting that somebody wants to have with their whole team and wants you at. But for the most,
the tax accountants, yeah, we have cases where, they have the tax accountant, their management accountant, and themselves, and so that it can be an in-place person. And then we also have the situation, I have a client that's in Boston.
Right.
And I've been out there a couple times to see them in person, but the vast majority of the time it's remote. And, there are people that I work with there that have never met me in person.
Right.
But it works. We have good communication. We have the ability to, talk on the phone. We have the ability to do virtual meetings and email.
Yeah.
Well, and that I will say this, the other piece is communication. It is key to have good communication, and we do stress that up front with every new client, that communication is key. We have to be talking back and forth with one another, or emailing or texting, and which way do you respond? And we get that up front, and we communicate that to our team, that this client, you need to text to tell them to read your email, or,
Yeah.
don't just email and think that they're getting the information, because sometimes they're not.
Yeah. And that's great. I mean, that's one of the things I always found too, is it didn't matter most of the time whether you met in person or remotely, but you had to do both. You had to do them at the right time. And it was all about planning, communication, and integrity and how you work together. And then anything can work.
Right.
And so it's great to hear how you guys have done it. Interesting to see. So in the remainder of this segment, what we want to talk about is get a little more idea of the type of work you do and how you do it. And the one that interests me the most, just because of my background, is the whole idea of planning. And I know it drives my wife crazy, but I love planning. I have a list over here of everything we're going to do in the next 18 months to sell our house.
Right?
Drives me crazy, I'm sure, but those are the type of things I like. Business plans. Talk about, how do you help your customers build the plans? What's their role? What's your role? And then how do you help them transition to executing the plans?
Well, I would say, when we first meet with a new client who wants to work on a business plan now, and I'm going to talk specifically startup business plan now, the same stuff, the same concepts also apply to ongoing client business plans, if they're looking to expand, expansion plan type business plans. But with a new client that we're first trying to work with, there's two things that we really stress with them. And one is that concept of plan to succeed. Really, you need to do that planning and you need to have something that you can measure against to succeed. And then the other thing is, what is success to you? And that piece, we have found, I think you would agree, Susan, we have found that piece is so important for people to understand, that what success means to me. It's not my success. Your business, your idea of your success is what success is to you. You might want to make, $10 billion from this business, and the next person might just want to make enough to put their kids through college, or, whatever it might be. It's just not the same thing to everybody. So,
Yeah.
So we have that conversation to start with the planning. And then the other piece that we do is, so we work with our clients on writing the business plan. So the business plan, we don't just, we have checklists and, assignments, I would say, that we give a client to do. We do have our client, we don't do the research for the client. So we have our client do the research. Now, that doesn't mean we don't point you in directions and say, try this, go look at that, go to this site, research these things. But our business plans are our client's business plan. They need to help write it. They might not know what it's all supposed to look like, so we work them through portions of it. What's your marketing plan? What's your personnel plan? What skills do you need? What skills do you have? What do you have to fill in? And as they're doing that, they're gathering the data that builds all of the assumptions. And then from that, we'll take all those assumptions and we'll help develop the financials, because that's usually the piece they don't know how to do at all.
Yeah.
And so we'll help them develop the financials for that.
But I think the other thing that we're making them realize is the operations portion of it. That, let's just think logistically. How many people do you need? How many man hours do you need on any given day to achieve whatever your business is going to achieve? And do you have enough capacity to do that? Or are you going to have to hire people? Do you have the skills for all of the different tasks that need to be done? Or are you going to have to hire people? And is the business sustainable, buildable, financially to be able to do that if you don't have the capacity or all the skills to be able to do so?
Yeah. Yeah.
A plan can look really good on paper, but it's worthless unless it's executed against. Doesn't mean it's followed perfectly. Things change. But how do you help your clients learn how to execute against the plan and how to adapt as they learn new things?
Executing part, yeah, exactly. And one of the major things that people fail to do is to get the bookkeeping and accounting set up right away so that they've got the reports so that they can measure them against the business plan, because you've got those forecasts, you've got those pro formas in the business plan. Let's see, we thought this is what's going to happen. Is that what's happening? And so many times people get so busy into the actual doing making the product, selling the item, providing the services, whatever it is. And they're like, putting all the receipts and stuff in a shoebox, and they're not getting it entered, and they're not running the financials, and they don't know where they're at, and they get way off track.
Yeah. So when we are starting, once we've got the books set up, because that's another service we offer, is helping get your books set up. And again, we do that in conversation. How detailed do you want to see things? But once we do that, then we schedule check-ins. And initially it's okay, once a week we're checking in here, and if we're doing the bookkeeping for you, we do it weekly. We're constantly keeping that up to date for you. And we really encourage the clients to do it weekly also. First off, it's not as big of a task for them. Where it really gets overwhelming for people who are doing it themselves, especially people who this isn't fun to them. The artists, the people who have 1,000 other things they want to do other than the bookkeeping. Just if you do it a little bit every day, or if you do it weekly, it's so much less of a job than when you wait till the end of the month and now you got to spend, a whole day or something like that. But so that's one thing is regular. We do check-ins with them. Then depending on whether, then we start diverging as to, are we doing the work or is the client doing the work? But then we initially with our clients, when we first are on a monthly basis, putting their financials together, we meet with them again, usually over Zoom at that point. Not usually a meeting in person, but we meet with them and we read through their financials with them. We show them what they're looking at, what we're seeing. So really you start getting into the training there of how to read your financials. And also, the financials that we put together we don't just drop them out of QuickBooks or whatever. We often will be looking at, well, what other metrics are you tracking? And we try to get those on there for them. And we'll be doing compared to, this time, we might look at weekly sales. How are your weekly sales increasing? Or, so we'll lay them out differently so that we can start building that story of what is happening in your business. And then taking it back to, let's compare it to your forecast. Where did we think we were going to be right now? So trying to have those early analytical conversations with clients early, so that we can quickly see, I really can't, if I was to stress something to anybody working on their own business, it's have your financials done and up to date on a regular basis so that at any moment you can pick them up and react quickly. If you've got a problem and you have to call somebody to do the last 3 months of your bookkeeping, you might miss an opportunity, or you may get into a world of hurt from managing your cash flow, getting your loans, just all of that. But if you're up to date with it and we're looking at it and reading it on a monthly basis, then we can really watch and see that, gosh, we're burning through cash more quickly. If we continue at this pace, we're going to be out of cash by here. So what should we do? What do we need to focus on? Do we need to cut cost back? Do we need to add a salesperson and drive more sales? Just that's the piece that I would say we really add to to our clients, managerial deck is helping them really work through what they're seeing and make decisions and be able to pivot quickly. And I know that I know because we have clients who send us very heartfelt thank you letters, who will say, I wouldn't be in business today if you weren't here by my side helping me learn how to look at things this way and read everything and make these decisions. So
and make the decisions. I think for people that are solo entrepreneurs that don't have a partner, it can get lonely. It can get hard. It's like you're the one making all the decisions in it, and there's some fatigue that comes in with that. And we always remind them that they're not alone. You can always, ultimately they have to make the decision, but we are always there to be your sounding board and to give you our point of view.
Yeah. Okay. We're at the spot for our last break. Time is flying. We want to thank our listeners. We do have one more segment, but we're going to take another break right now, and we'll be right back after this. Welcome back. I would like to thank the sponsors and donors who bring Biz Talk with Score to you each weekend. We couldn't present this show without their generous support. Thank you to Hailing & Associates. Hailing & Associates helps small businesses and individuals not just prepare tax returns, but plan for taxes, thereby helping you minimize taxes for this year and beyond. Hailing & Associates. Personal connection, positive results. A special thank you to the Business News for promoting our program in the biweekly business newspaper serving Northeast Wisconsin. If you aren't already subscribing to the Business News, you should. The paper is delivered biweekly and contains relevant and useful information about the business community in Northeast Wisconsin. We would also like to recognize the David L. and Rita E. Nelson Fund within the Community Foundation for the Fox Valley region for their generous donation in support of Biz Talk and Fox City Score. Thank you again to all our sponsors. And we'll turn back to Beth and Susan now as we wrap up. Could you guys let our listeners know, how do they find you?
You can find us on our website, which is esadvisors.net. And we can be reached on our phone number, which is 920-268-0553.
All right. I'd like to go back to something that you both were talking about in the last segment, and that is keeping up to date on the financials. Can you maybe just give the listeners an idea of why that is so important, especially in today's world as we just get faster and faster at everything, and why that paying that much attention to those numbers and taking care of them on a regular basis instead of letting it go for weeks at a time? Why is that it's so important?
Susan,
and it's just amazing. Yeah, we're both like, jump in. You can end up spending so much money and wasting it on little things, and you don't realize it because you're moving so fast. And if you're not recording it and then looking at it, you look 6 weeks later and you're like, I spent that much on networking meals or on packaging or whatever. And what did I get for it? And so that's why you have to be able to look at those reports on a regular basis to see what are you spending your money on, and are you getting the benefit out of all those dollars spent?
Right. On just a quick business and a quick look at it just immediately. I think often businesses don't realize, small businesses, how quickly they can run out of money and run through their money. So if you're not watching what is driving your net income and your cash flow in, things like, oh, we didn't get around to invoicing this month, or I mean, we knew we had that big project, but, in our brain, it was easier to take care of all these little things first. And then you didn't get that big project done. And that was the one that was going to drive your income for the next couple months. Or something has happened. I mean, we saw this with the pandemic. I mean, that was a crucial thing with our businesses. So many that we were watching everybody take their walks, and Susan and I were working overtime trying to help businesses work through how were they going to stay in business during the pandemic time frame, and that all requires, you can only do that if you're up to speed and have numbers that you can look at. Otherwise, you're just going by your gut feel, and gut feel is often not correct.
Yeah, that's an experience we've seen with quite a few businesses, but we'd like to thank the two of you for coming on. We had so many more things to talk about, but I think you really did a lot to explain to people why it's so important to do some of the planning and what's involved in your business. And we hope people who are listening out there will consider contacting E&S Entrepreneur Advisors to get some help with their business. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'd like to thank our listeners. If you want to listen to other shows, you can go to our website at biztalkwithscore.com, and we've got the last 5 years or so of shows out there. And this one will be on in a few weeks as well, so you can listen to it again. Thanks again, everybody, and we will talk to you next weekend.